This time I'm from Leuven, not from Leuven, and she will talk about non-amenable C star superrigid groups that are not W star superrigid.
Thank you for the introduction, and thank you for inviting me to speak here. So I will be talking about some examples of non-amenable groups that satisfy these two properties, mainly that they can be recovered from their C-star algebra, but not from their von Neumann algebra. And this is joint work with Juan Felipe Ariza Mejia and Yunus Skifon. Okay, so first I'll define what these superrigidity notions mean. So for the entire talk, all groups will be countable and discrete. And then we can create the group ring, which is nothing but the span of these operators UG that act on L2 of G by left translation. So if you take the Dirac mass at point H, which form an orthonormal basis for L2 of G, this UG will be sending it to the Dirac mass at the point GH. So this group ring lives inside of bounded operators on L2 of G. So you can close the space under two different topologies. One is the norm topology. You get the reduced group C-star algebra. And then the other one is the weak operator topology, or the strong operator topology, and in which case you get the group von Neumann algebra. And one question that a lot of people, well, some of us, including me, are interested is to know or to understand how many properties of your initial data, so of your initial group G, are preserved when you move to one of these algebras. So either the group ring, the reduced group C-star algebra, or the von Neumann algebra. Now, we say that when everything is recoverable from whatever of these structures you're looking at, we call it superrigid. And so a group is called ring superrigid if you take any other countable discrete group H and you have an isomorphism star isomorphism between the group rings, and then you can say that the two groups were isomorphic. C-star superrigid the same, so you can recover the group G from the group C-star algebra, the reduced group C-star algebra, and W-star superrigid if your von Neumann algebra remembers the entire group. Now the question is already hard at the ring case, because if you take Z mod 4 and Z mod 2 times Z mod 2, you get isomorphic von Neumann algebras. However, it is much better understood, the question, at least in the ring case, than the other case. For example, it is known that if your group G satisfies if your group G is such that C of G, so this group ring satisfies Kaplansky's unit conjecture, then it is superrigid. So for example, torsion-free abelian groups. However, it is much harder for the other two notions. And I don't really work in ring superrigidity, I mainly work in W-star superrigidity, but today I want to discuss these last two. Now, one thing that you could expect is that because you're taking this the closure under weaker topology, so like this ring group lies inside of the reduced group C-star algebra, which lies inside the von Neumann algebra, you should expect that the larger your algebra is, the less you can recover. And this is true, or at least a great example to see this is in the amenable case. So in the amenable case, your von Neumann algebra doesn't remember anything, or not a lot. So if G is infinite abelian group, then your group von Neumann algebra always gives rise to L infinity of 0, 1 with the Levesque measure. So if you have two of these groups, or two infinite abelian groups, they will give you the same exact object, which means that at the level of the von Neumann algebra, the only thing that you can recover, or that you can say, is that the original group was abelian and infinite. That's it, nothing else. You can say anything else. Something similar happens with the class of amenable ICC groups. So this is due to a very deep result of Kohn in 1976, where if you have such a group, then this gives rise to the hyperfinite one factor. So again, if you have two ICC amenable groups, you cannot distinguish them at the level of the von Neumann algebra. Now, at the contrary, in the C-star algebra case, you can say more things about amenable groups. So for example, torsion-free infinite abelian groups, so Z, are C-star superrigid, so they are completely recoverable from the C-star algebra. And this is due to Scheinbrich in 1974. And there are more groups that are amenable that have been shown to be C-star superrigid. So this includes certain virtually abelian groups, two-step nilpotent loop groups, and free nilpotent groups. Something that I should mention here is that it's unknown if there's an example of an amenable ICC group, which, okay, by this, it will not be W-star superrigid, but it is unknown if there's an amenable ICC group that is C-star superrigid. Okay, now this is in the amenable case. In the non-amenable case, the question becomes a bit harder, well, much harder. However, you can say some more things about the rigidity of certain non-amenable groups in the fundamental algebra case. So I have only two examples, but there's many, many more. So the first example of W-star superrigid groups is a result of Johanna, Popa, and Vaz in 2010, in which they consider certain Ritz product groups. The second one I have here is, I have it here because some of our examples will be built with these, which I will define in the next slide. But Ionuț, so Chifoni, Ionas, and Sony in 2021, they constructed the first groups with property T that are W-star superrigid, and they call them Ritz-like product groups. They're some kind of generalization of Ritz products. Now, many of the results in between, some of them are, again, some other generalizations of Ritz products, but there's some even that are amalgamated free products. All of these are non-amenable W-star superrigid groups. However, you can still find some groups in the ones in between that are still C-star superrigid. However, how to prove these results, even the ones in the C-star algebra case, so if you start with the C-star algebra, you use that most likely they will have trivial amenable radical to extend the result, the isomorphism to the von Neumann algebra, and then apply your von Neumann algebra statement in that case. And how to show the superrigidity is usually done through Popa's deformation rigidity theory in most cases. Okay, but as before, so in the C-star algebra, so in the amenable case, there's amenable groups that are C-star superrigid, but not W-star superrigid. And so you can phrase the exact same question in this case. Are there non-amenable groups that are C-star superrigid, but not W-star superrigid? And in this work, we provide the first groups that satisfy such properties. So in fact, we create or we construct an uncountable family of countable groups that are pairwise non-isomorphic, where each of them is C-star superrigid, but not W-star superrigid. And these groups appear as infinite direct sums of KNs, where these KNs are amalgamated free product groups of Ritz-like product groups. So these groups that were constructed by Chifoni, Ioana.
What is cardinality of this set I?
It's uncountable, yeah. Okay, so let me talk about Ritz-like product groups. So a Ritz-like product group is G. Is a group that appears as an extension of direct sums of copies of A by a group B, where B acts on I, on a set I, where you see this direct sum of copies of A as a normal subgroup of G. So G acts on it by conjugation, and the only thing you require is that it sends the ith copy of A to the copy of A given by pi of G acting on I. So pi here is the quotient map. Now, every Ritz product is a Ritz-like product group. However, when we usually talk about Ritz-like product groups, we do not assume that the short exact sequence splits. So you don't technically have an action of B on this direct sum. You have it's called the co-cycle action. Okay, so these groups, under certain assumptions of A, B, and the action, and G, were shown to be W-star superrigid already in the paper by Chifoni, Ioana, and these conditions, we still require them. So these will be like 1, 2, and 3 here. However, we want to construct amalgamated free products. So our groups in this class 8C that I will be referring to later are amalgamated free products of G1 and G2 over C, where the following hold. So both G1 and G2 satisfy the following assumptions. These AIs are non-trivial abelian groups. So maybe I can say something about these assumptions. So the non-trivial billion groups allows you to transfer some of these W star superrigidity property into some orbit equivalence problems. So that's why it's useful. And there's many results done by HOPA on Bernoulli actions. And these ones are not Bernoulli actions, but they are very similar to them. These Bs are non-trivial ICC hyperbolic groups. Hyperbolic groups are very useful because they allow you to detect for certain amenable subalgebras leave, and this is the whole point of us. And then you want that the centralizers, the non-trivial centralizers of B are amenable. You want that the action of B on I has amenable stabilizers, which this is a very standard notion or assumption. In particular, they give you that your groups are ICC. And then you want that your groups have property. Now, all of these groups, G1 and G2, with these properties were already constructed before. But now the assumption that you add is that you want this subgroup C, both in G1 and G2, to be the following, to be ICC, non-amenable, and high group, which means that we're talking about some free groups. And you want the inclusion of C in both G1 and G2 to be almost non-normal. Okay, so these are the assumptions, and these will be our groups, and I will just not mention these assumptions anymore. But okay, so before, and these groups are these KNs that I mentioned before, so we'll take infinite direct sums of these groups, and we'll try to show that they are C star superrigid, but not W star superrigid. Now, before I mention the C star superrigidity result, we need to talk about what happens at the von Neumann algebra level. So these groups, G, these amalgamated free products, are still W star superrigid, and you can even say a bit more. Finite product, finite direct sums of them, they're still W star superrigid. So if you take G to be a finite direct sum of these amalgamated free products, and you have an isomorphism between the group von Neumann algebra associated to this group and an arbitrary one, you can say that the two groups are isomorphic, and moreover, the von Neumann algebra isomorphism is implemented by the group. So up to conjugating by a unitary and multiplying by a character, you're sending the unitary corresponding to the group element G to the unitary corresponding to the element delta of G. So at the level of finite products, they are W star superrigid, but they are not W star superrigid when you consider infinite direct sums. So suppose you have G, a direct sum of these GNs. Then if you look here, so L of G will be just the tensor of L of GNs. And then using amplifications, you can rewrite that tensor product, or each of the L of GNs as L of G n to the 1/2. So this is just a corner of L of Gn with a projection of trace 1/2. Tensor 2x2 matrices. But then you obtain a copy of the hyperfinite to one factor, and the hyperfinite to one factor tensorally absorbs itself. So you obtain another copy of R, and then from the first line, you obtain that the first part here is just L of G. So that means that by this result of Kohn, your group von Neumann algebra L of G is isomorphic to the group von Neumann algebra of G times A for A and E.
Excuse me, are you saying that the corner is isomorphic to? No, I mean, I think I missed something.
L of Gn. Yeah.
Brackets.
Oh, sorry.
Say that again, Adam.
So look at the last formula,
Yeah.
the first formula in the second line, and now look at the equality between L of G and what is had here.
So this first part is just.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
So your group von Neumann algebra L of G is isomorphic to the group von Neumann algebra of G times A for A and E ICC amenable group. So these show that these groups will not ever be W star superrigid.
Is the fundamental group of those von Neumann algebras known?
For these G's?
Yes.
So no, because we cannot do these up to amplifications. So we can actually, so this theorem, we can do it for corners only. So if you have L of G, like a corner of L of G, then you can say that the corner needs to be just 1. We suspect it's true for arbitrary amplifications, but we couldn't prove it. Okay, however, these at the C star algebra level, they are W star superrigid. So if you take this, well, under one more condition. So if you take this infinite direct sum of groups G, where like these groups Gn, sorry, and each of them is one of these amalgamated free products, but you additionally assume that they are torsion free, then these groups are completely recoverable from the C-star algebra. So if you have an isomorphism between this one and an arbitrary one, then it turns out that the two groups are isomorphic. So maybe a comment on why it can work. So why we need torsion free. So when you have torsion free, this group G will be torsion free, and then you can show that H will also be torsion free. And so this will need, and then these groups Gn have trivial amenable radical, including G. So then you can extend this isomorphism at the level of the C-star algebra to the von Neumann algebra. And in particular, in that case, when you have H to also be torsion free, then you can say something about arbitrary amplifications in this setting. So here, instead of if H is assumed to be torsion free, then any amplification, both less than 1 or bigger than 1, will be trivial. So this is something we need. Okay, but then from this result, there's one more question that remains that we couldn't solve, and it is, well, these groups are not W-star superrigid, as we saw before. However, you can ask, what is the extent of their lack of rigidity? Meaning, can you recover everything but this amenable room that you have left? So if L of this infinite direct sum of GNs is isomorphic to an arbitrary group von Neumann algebra, can you say that it must be, this H, it must be of the form, well, this group G plus direct sum with an ICC amenable group? So that we don't know, but this is a new rigidity phenomenon that has been introduced very recently, and it's called McDuff superrigidity. And I might be a bit early, but this is all I have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do you have any questions? Yeah.
Well, thank you for your talk. Does property T play a role in the proof?
So the property T plays a role in the superrigidity of these groups. Yes. You need property T for G. So imagine G was just G1. It follows that this B, this acting group B, is property T because it's a quotient. And when you translate some of these properties to the ergodic sense, you need property T in order to be able to recover these actions. So just as in some of Popper's theorems. Yes.
Let's go to the next slide. So in this theorem, this isomorphism between two groups, does it come from theta?
So yeah, at the level of the von Neumann algebra, yes, but you have a unitary at the von Neumann algebra. So yes.
In this case, so it comes from theta, right?
Yes. So yes, you have a group isomorphism, and okay, you've extended the isomorphism to the von Neumann algebra. So at the von Neumann algebra level, you can say, well, theta of UG is a character, and then conjugated by a unitary, and it gives you the corresponding unitary given by delta. But this unitary lives in the von Neumann algebra. You cannot say that it lives in the C-star algebra. Like, so you still have, okay, maybe. So you extend this to the L of G. Now here, using H torsion free and all this, you can say that theta of UG is eta of G W, let's say delta of G W star. But this unitary lives in L of H. You cannot say it lives in the C-star algebra. Yeah.
Oh, the same as speaker again.